caller.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Rowan.
And hi, I'm Zach.
And this is the 29th episode.
The very 29th.
29th episode, some might say, of In the Zone. Man, it's exciting. We're near the end.
And I still have to recover. That was a frightening one.
We're kind of evening it out. We're having a lot of Zach episodes now because Calvin had a lot in the beginning. Trying to even it out, you know.
If you'd like to be horrified like we were just, you can watch it on Netflix for cash, Hulu for cash. You can get a DVD from your library for not cash.
Or you can just buy them for cash. CBS.com for cash. Yep. Might be some other things. You can go searching. But the episode that we will be discussing today is called Nightmare as a Child. It starts, this woman is walking into an
and she
apartment
looks like
building.
a mannequin. I think
it's pronounced mannequin.
Mannequin.
I noticed that right away when she looked at us. I was like, she looks so much like a mannequin.
Yeah, I was like, I think this is our first returning actor. She was the mannequin.
Yes.
And where is everybody?
Right, she was often typecast as, mannequins. She was probably an elegy also.
Yeah.
And she walks right past a creepy little girl who's sitting down.
And she's solemn.
Yeah, and then
let's have a creepy little girl face interlude.
Helen goes back to talk to her, and she's like,
she's quiet.
What's up? Right. Because the little girl isn't answering her questions at first, and
she's like, I know a lot about children. I know a lot about the noisy type and the quiet. Type. I'm a school teacher.
I'm kind of an expert on children. I teach school, she says.
I teach school. Who does that?
A classroom full of schools. Hello.
The kid is talking to her, and the kid knows a lot about her. Too much about her.
Yeah, she says she knows she's a teacher, which one doesn't make sense. She wouldn't know that she's a teacher. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
She knows that she makes hot
chocolate.
Oh
yeah. There are a couple flaws.
There are quite a few.
When we talk about the flaws, I can justify it, I think.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
She knows that she makes hot chocolate, but she doesn't like marshmallows. And she's like, why, you're right about that. So they go into her apartment for some hot chocolate, and she's like, should we tell your mother where she is? And Marky, oh wait, I don't know her name yet. Little girl says, that won't be necessary.
Creepiest kid alive.
The kid is in no hurry. We get a creepy monologue that's like, she will learn the properties of fear, the dimensions of terror.
And she will be led by this little girl into a nightmare. Rod Serling. I think that's the creepiest monologue so far.
I think it is, it definitely is. The monologue for Judgment Night is so good and creepy.
Well, there's another episode that I won't watch.
What? Well,
I guess
it's just a monologue.
Okay.
Fade to black, and then fade up, the hot chocolate is done. And, little girl says she's glad it's not too hot because she doesn't like hot things. And
she's like, you don't like hot things.
Remember when you got burnt once and you have a scar below your elbow? Ah! Why, yes you do. It's not bad scar makeup, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So...
One bonus.
What?
You could totally imagine given some of the stuff we've seen that the scar makeup is totally awful and distracting.
We haven't seen any bad old man makeup yet, but in some later seasons there is old man makeup, and it is bad. Helen says, who is the name of the person who is a school teacher.
Yeah, we get that in the creepy monologue.
School. Yeah, she says she doesn't recall lots of things from being a certain age. And the girl reminds her that she knows all about her. She says, do people look familiar to you sometimes? And she's like, well, I guess sometimes. And the little girl says, today? And she says, no! Really?
This kid is so creepy.
And she says, it's not polite to contradict people. But then she realized, oh yeah, I did recognize someone with
that man in front of the traffic light.
Yes, when she was crossing the street, she recognized a man in a car.
And that's a flaw. That's a flaw.
What?
You can't justify the kid knowing that.
Yep, you can't justify the kid knowing that.
You can justify the kid knowing that she's a school teacher. All of it explained in the discussion phase. Yeah, you can.
How? How would you know that she would grow up to teach at school?
Well, what if she, you know that one kid in kindergarten who was asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And knows exactly.
Yeah, but how does she know that she's going to be successful at becoming a teacher of schools?
Because she had ambition.
No, sir. She didn't recognize the man, but he was familiar. And Marky, oh, dang it, the little girl says she lives around here, and her nickname is Marky. It's not my real name, but that's what people call me. Marky.
Do you recognize the nickname?
And she's like, yes, I heard. It's such a good scene. Because they're both good actors.
Yeah, I honestly think that kid might be best actress.
I don't know about the kid, but I definitely think that Helen Foley could be.
No, I think we can nominate the kid.
The kid,
the kid was so good.
The kid didn't have so much to do. I thought, but the person who played Helen was really, really good.
Ugh, the mannequin.
She was good. She was good as heck.
High quality stop motion.
Marky says, is that all? And she's like, it's a cute name. What do you want me to say? And she's like, nothing. And so Marky suddenly like, someone's coming! I want to get out! And then she runs away.
And then they hear a knock.
And it's Peter Selden.
And we see the top of his hat, and I'm like, he has a knife, he has a knife, he has a knife!
He doesn't have a knife, though. And,
he has a hat.
And he knew her mother very well. What a big forehead on that guy.
Yeah.
Whoa. It's crazy. What a creepy man. He's like, do you remember me? And she's like, you do look familiar.
And then they talk about this big, tragic thing. It's kind of creepy small talk.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of, yeah. He's like, you were a little girl when I knew you, 10 or 11. And then he's like, after that tragic thing happened, you were ill for a long time. And I wonder if it ever came back to you. You were in the room when it happened. And she was like, I had shock. And I only came back for a year or so. I teach schools. And he said, I wanted to stop and say hello. I'm on town for business, just passing through. I had quite a crush on you. Which is a little weird. Yeah. Because I was thinking maybe they were friends as kids, but we learned that he was an adult when
that's the creepy. I think that was another flaw. Because later he says, I knew your mother. It must have been, I worked for her. It must have been 19 years ago. Okay.
Alright, so here's what I go. I had quite a crush on you when you were a little girl. I heard you screaming that night. That's exactly how the line goes. I was the first one to find her rotting corpse.
No, that's...
No, he says I was the first one to find her. Terrible thing, your mother getting killed that way. And they never found the men who did it, did they? After he said this, was there any doubt in your mind at all that he was the murderer?
There was doubt, but then later...
It's totally him! Look at the way he's...
You watched it before.
No. The first time I saw it, I knew... Well, not, like, going in, but when I saw
I got it a full 5 minutes before the fact.
Wow. Because he was...
When was that in the thing?
Wait, what are you talking about?
I got it when he showed her the snapshot of her as a kid.
Oh. Well,
which was just, like, a second later.
But he's just, like, the first person you hear telling about her mother's murder was a guy who knew her mother very well, and he was the first one to find her body, and he heard her screaming that
was a
night.
little bit creepy.
It's so obviously him.
Yeah.
And just the way he's like...
It took me a little bit more to reinforce that, but yeah.
Terrible thing, your mother getting killed.
Hey, don't hate on the big foreheads.
The big foreheads?
Yeah.
They're far away. Just a little joke. She says she remembers vague, disjointed things. Did you see his face? And she's not sure if she ever saw his face.
Yeah, that's when I knew, actually.
Right.
And that's when I knew. Did you ever see his face? Oh, you were the man who looked familiar. I saw him and I knew you.
No, I never saw his face. His face appeared to be completely featureless. Just below, a small face under that. I only saw the forehead. And then he goes like, don't you remember me? I used to brandish that knife all the time. And then...
by the way, he's the murderer, in case you didn't guess.
Yes. She's like, do you want some hot chocolate or anything? And then she picks up the cup and she's like, that's strange. I thought you finished your hot cacao.
Cacao.
She's a strange little girl, that Marky. And he's like, Marky, that was your nickname as a little girl. First of all, spoiler alerts, turns out Marky's her. If you didn't already guess.
Yeah.
Is there any way that you wouldn't recognize what you looked like as a little kid?
I don't know. If you had trauma and shock, yeah, there's really no way.
Are you kidding me?
I said there's really no way that you wouldn't recognize yourself.
Oh, okay, phew. Because, I mean, of course I would recognize myself. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe just because I've watched so many In the Zone episodes.
Yeah.
I guess, well, but obviously we find out later there have been photos of her. And, like, she's probably at least seen her face in a river or, like, a mirror or anything.
I don't know.
She would totally...
If I was that kid,
and
I would
he-
stay away from mirrors. I mean, nothing.
And when she... then we hear creepy.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you But it's
Sung by
in the
Marky.
kid's creepy voice.
Right.
And she's like, oh, she has many talents, including singing. And I'm like, no, she does not.
What? It is. She is good at singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Fade to black. Things are coming back to her, she says. And the guy doesn't hear the singing. And he's like, there's something I want to show you. And it's a photo of Marky, but he says it's of her as a little girl, Helen. And people used to call her Marky.
Oh, I bet you we just looked the same.
This is a bummer because there's a lot of good things about this episode, except it's so predictable.
Yeah,
It's just obvious.
It's predictable and it's flawed, but it was entertaining.
It was good. In so many ways. And there are just so many big problems. And what's her face? Helen is sleeping on a couch. And
We see.
we see her shadows, and it's like
And
a
then it gets
flashback
fuzzy,
of
it gets
her,
fuzzy.
of her mother's murder.
This is first creepy part.
Yeah, because
I think
like,
this-
we see
this
like
episode-
a shadow. We see it's like whoa
This
of this big head running around, chasing and joking, and then hitting the mother.
This might be an episode that has 2 creepiest thing nominees.
Maybe we have to say the Zonies. It's a thing coming up. It's an awards show at the end of the season
And it's
where we
gonna
give
be the greatest
give silly awards to all kinds of episodes. One of them is creepiest thing, and we are saying that many things here can be nominated for creepiest thing, ugliest person, best actress, stuff like that.
Ugliest person is not a thing. And
Not yet.
And I want if we watch a few more episodes,
We'll see if there are ugly people.
I feel like the kid deserves the best actress nominee.
I think definitely that the grown woman does. We'll see about the kid.
There are just so many disastrous kids on the show who
Yep.
you see and you're like, Tommy, just get off my screen.
It's aliens.
And then like, Kid Martin, I didn't do it, Mr. Honest.
I
I
pretty
wasn't
good.
the first kid.
No, the worst is the little kid. Hey, are you good at marbles? I guess not too bad. This one's we call Wallace. This one we call balls.
Yeah. I don't know, I feel like...
And then of course we have
Instead of...
Ronnie, that's in. I think we should have a category, worst kid. So it doesn't mean just performance, also appearance.
Yeah, if we have like if we have best kid, it's going to be least disastrous kid.
I think you know what, for worst performance, let's eliminate the Big Tall Wish Kid. So that
Big Tall Wish Kid was fine.
we should keep him as a nominee for worst kid. We're gonna have worst kid.
No, the Big Tall Wish Kid was better than a lot of kids.
Worst kid is gonna be the new Zonies thing. It's gonna be a big one. Oh, now I'm so excited. She wakes up and hears Twinkle Twinkle again. And then she opens the door and Marky's on the step. And she's like, no, you think you should go home? Your mother will be worried. And she's like, my mother won't be worried because
She's dead.
she's dead. I don't have a mother anymore.
She was murdered. Oh, I sure wonder. Well, that's a shame. You're definitely not me. Again, this is my philosophy on the Twilight Zone. If something weird and supernatural is happening, look around you, and if it's black and white, it's probably happening.
I don't know why you say that
On
so
every
many
episode.
times if it's so little humor involved.
Hey,
so,
it works.
So Helen sees the scar on Marky's elbow, and it looks really good.
And it's the same scar.
And she's like, you don't have any idea who I am? And then eventually she says, I'm you, Helen! And then she is lying down and then she hears Marky, or Helen rather, telling her, and then she killed her. Then she turns around, it's Peter!
And she gasps, and that is
And then
creepy.
he's like, I want to bring, and then he sounds like a spoken word album. I want to bring you up to date, kind of coming back to you in recent time, and I want to be the very first to tell you, Helen, that night I was the one who killed your mother.
What? I did not see that one coming.
And he was going to kill her. I was gonna have to kill you next, but you screamed. Oh boy, Helen, you screamed so loud that I had to run.
And I had to run right down the stairs.
And she blocked out the whole incident afterwards.
But Helen, you didn't remember. You were in trauma and shock, so I followed you. I was a creepy stalker. Did I creepily stalk? Grammar, do I creepily have?
Peter has been keeping tabs on her and following her around, or keeping track of her, which kind of solves one flaw because he says, I'm just passing through on town, and he knew she was there, so there was no reason for him to tell her that, to give her these obvious hints that he killed her mother, because he could just be doing his own thing and she never would have remembered. But she had already seen her child self, which was the manifestation of her subconsciousness. So I guess that's
why the cocoa wasn't drank.
So
and that is a detail that I did not see.
Coolest thing. So I guess it already was coming back to her, but even if and she already saw him anyways, so I guess it made sense for him to go back and tell her.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I guess, but
so
still,
fine.
like, guide to being a supervillain, don't tell people, like...
Yeah, just kill her right away.
Yeah,
just open the door and kill her.
Like, don't tell them what you're doing, because, like, while you're doing that, they're hatching an escape plan.
He should have
had
hit her with his forehead.
Remember?
They get in a big old fight, boop, boop, boop,
and she beats on, like, some doors, and then she runs, and then pretty... It's not a bad scene.
Ends with him having a classic Twilight Zone, well, later on we'll see some more of these, but a Twilight Zone signature stare death. It's not as common as the window death,
which is Franklin Gibbs and so close to Joe Caswell.
Almost Joe Caswell. They tease. Then two 50s men are talking. They talk about how the child was a hallucination, manifestation of her subconsciousness. Then we see...
They do that sometimes. They have, like... this has happened a couple of times. Like those two 15... Like those two men wearing... They added in the fever. Oh man, when they get hooked, they do get hooked.
right.
And then right here, they talk about the kid was just a manifestation.
Right. And then we see Helen in her room hearing Twinkle Twinkle, and then she's scared, looks out,
and it's a perfectly normal kid with the creepiest doll I've ever seen.
And she says, my dolly has a smile. And she says, you have a beautiful smile, and your dolly also has a beautiful smile. Then it's so weird how happy the music is, and she's like, I feel so nice now that I just killed that man. What did you think?
Here's the deal. There were so many unusually good things about that episode, and there were so many unexcusably bad things about that episode.
Right.
I'd say this is, like, I don't know, it's a tough decision, because, I don't know, I say, like without the flaws, it's easily a 10, but then the flaws are so crippling.
Right, because it's...
Like, first of all, kid probably didn't know that they would teach schools. Second of all, there's no way the kid would know that you recognized. Third of all, the kid would not know that someone's coming.
And it's just so predictable. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, fourth of all, let's face it, did you see that coming?
Yep! So, I already have my rating in my mind. Should I just go ahead and say it? There's
Would you like a drum roll?
Nope, because I know it.
Okay.
6.5.
6.5. Yeah, I'm feeling I might go a little lower.
In that zone.
Yeah, in that zone. You're so clever.
Oh, please.
It's such a shame because there was such an opportunity to have like a really good episode, but they screwed it up. I'm gonna go 5.5.
5.5. That's the episode of In the Zone. Next episode is our 30th episode, Spooktacular. We'll be talking about...
Spooktacular?
We'll be talking about the episode A Stop at Willoughby, and we will see you then.